Hi everyone, it's AJ and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another weekly watch roundup to talk about the things that I've been watching this week. So I'm going to start with the films and then drop down into TV. My last TV one will have a big spoiler to it. When I get to it, I'll make that aware at the time, so you can switch off at that point if you're don't want to know about that episode. So anyway, so what have I been watching lately? Okay, I've been going through some of the Batman films, obviously, because obviously I've been dropping daily Batman, daily Batman series called Batman Before, which I thought was quite a good title, actually. Batman Begins, Batman Forever, Batman Returns. So I've done Batman Before, which is everything before the run-up to the new Matt Reeves Batman film. So yeah, so you can check that stuff out anyway. But anyway, so let's go on to the other stuff. So, okay, other stuff that I've watched. Okay, I watched a Christmas film. Yes, but top secret. Yeah, because it will actually form part of my 12 Days of Christmas at the year's end. Now, as I've said before, yes, I'm thinking that far ahead. I'm putting stuff in place. I know it's not a festive time of year, but they're films I haven't seen. And thusly I'm watching them now just when I've got a spare hour and a half to 2 hours. So I throw them in, watch them, and it just releases that pressure at the end of the year to get stuff done, you know, because I enjoy Christmas films. Obviously I enjoy them at Christmas, but it's quite a chore to have to sit through 12 Christmas films in 12 days to get the reviews done and this sort of thing. So I thought, well, sod it, why not? Anyway, enough of that. So, Scream 2022. Yeah, I started watching the new Scream film, but I just couldn't get into it. Now, I'm not a big fan of the franchise anyway. I have seen the first 3 Scream films. I haven't seen the 4th Scream film, but I do have it on £2 Blu-ray, but just never got around to watching it. So I thought I'd watch the new one, and I switched it off at a certain point. Again, I have done this as a one I switched off. Now, I know that it has 3 of the original cast return, and maybe more, which I'm sure that if you're a fan of the Scream films, is fantastic for you. You know, I'm not knocking that. It's not for me, you know. I just couldn't get into it. The new characters were uninteresting. So for me, I switched off at a certain point. I think it was about 34 minutes in. And then I thought, do you know what? I'm guessing that you've got some really good stuff with the old cast members, but some really bad stuff with the new, something like that. So anyway, thusly that went and got switched off. Then I sat through a film called Pursuit. Now, I was interested in this because it had John Cusack in it and Emil Hirsch. Now, Emil Hirsch is a take him or leave him sort of actor, but he's done some relatively okay stuff in the past, from The Girl Next Door. He done one with Mel Gibson about a year ago, the Storm one, where he's the police officer. Mel Gibson gets killed early on in it, this sort of thing. I didn't actually mind that too much as a sort of throwaway generic film. It was okay, but in this film, you know, I sat through this film and I don't know how I got through it. All I can say is don't watch this film. It is poor, it is laughable. I have done a review for the film, you can check that out. But I'm very, very critical. Now, it isn't often for me to turn around to anyone and say, don't watch this film, because I think everyone should make up their own opinion about films, but this one made me say, don't waste your time on this film. It's awful. Yeah, so that was that. Then I watched Crimson Peak. Now, Crimson Peak, again, I reviewed because it was a subscriber recommendation review that people give me, you know, say to me, have you seen this film? You should really watch it. And I'm like, okay. This came on the back of me switching off Nightmare Alley, because it's a Guillermo I can never get his name out when I'm doing these videos. It's a Del Toro film. Guillermo del Toro. Yeah, it's one of his films, so there's a certain, you know, thingy to it. It had the girl from, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, Alice in Wonderland in it. Tom Hiddleston was in it, so it had a decent cast, and I watched it, and it was an okay watch. It was you know, a lovely looking film, you know, technically brilliant looking and this sort of thing, and it was all right. Yeah, so I'd watched that. And then I watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new 2022 one. Very short film, about 84 minutes. So very tight sort of storytelling. Now, again, horror I'm not too big on. I've seen the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've not seen any of the others. Again, I've reviewed it. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't boring. And I'm sure that if you're a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, you'll love this film because it does that Halloween thing again, where it brings back the woman from the first film and this sort of a thing. Not as good though. It's a bit silly. There's silly moments in it. There's moments where the writing's. I don't know why characters do certain things within the context of the film. It's like, why are you doing that? Why, that makes no sense that you're doing this thing that you're doing. I get more into that in the review. But, it was gory. It had the blood. It had people being sliced up with chainsaw, it had decapitations and all this sort of thing. And if you're a lover of that sort of stuff, then I'm sure there's a lot for you to get out of it. However, I can take it or leave it. Gore and that is like, all right, I don't need gore in a film like I don't really need bad language in a film. I can enjoy a film without those two elements to it. I get far more out of a sort of tense scene than a gory scene, but that's just me, so I'm not knocking people or anything like that, so don't take it that way. So drop into the TV stuff now. Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, Star Trek Discovery had a quite an action-packed good episode this week. It was quite interesting. It was quite fun, although I think the reset button was set at the end of the episode. Like they achieved nothing in the episode by the end of it, which is a bit frustrating for the context of the storytelling, because it means that next week potentially you're back to the point where you were before, that you could be there, which I find annoying. Next up, Resident Alien, the next episode of the latest Resident. Now, if you haven't seen the first season of Resident Alien, I highly recommend it. It was a fantastic show. I think season 2 it's kind of lost that freshness to it, but that happens anyway. And I think that some people are tiring of it because it has this kind of woke agenda within it now, which wasn't present in the first season. Episode 3 was particularly bad, and I got a lot of comments and views on my review for that episode, which was fantastic. But all negative reviews, not negative reviews about my video, but negative views. It's a place for people to come and vent for the show, essentially. And I even had Stephen Luther, one of my subs, message me saying, I hope you don't think that it was, all these negative comments are about your video, because they're not. They're about the show, and I get that, and it was good to read. There was a lot of great interaction, which I loved. A place for the fans to come, and everyone's very respectful and that sort of thing. But there was this sort of joint, they didn't like what the show had done and this sort of thing. People were dropping the show because of that one episode, which, I believe in hanging around and seeing how it goes. The episode that I watched this week was a little uptick, and I think next week's is going to be far superior because they take the character out of his element, out of where he is, and he goes to the big city, so it's more of a fish out of water again story at that point, which is usually quite fun. So that was that. As for other TV stuff, as you know, I've been watching Reacher, but I haven't watched none this week. I've been too busy with these films. That's a getting slow through that. But last but not least is Peacemaker. Now this is where the spoiler comes in, so stick around if you want, or if you want to eject, go. Now I'm giving you your warning. Now season finale, fantastic. That end scene where the Justice League turn up, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash and Aquaman all turn up. Just brilliant. Okay, you don't see Superman, don't see Wonder Woman because they're sort of like in silhouette, but the fact that you've got Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller there, they were filmed separately. Marvel actually filmed the Ezra Miller stuff as Flash and allowed DC, to use, basically to film this and have the footage for your show, which was fantastic for Marvel to do that. Probably because of James Gunn, because obviously James Gunn is Marvel and DC affiliated at this time. What with Suicide Squad and the Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's great that they worked in unison because to get some footage over to DC to be used at the end of this episode, and it was just superb. And it's done for fun, the scene. you know, Peacemaker having to go at the Justice League for turning up late, implying about Aquaman having relations with fish and this sort of thing. It was all very good, and yeah, it was just the icing on the top of the cake for this series. I would say it was very, very good, very enjoyable, and I loved it. Peacemaker was a fantastic series, and it has been greenlit for a season 2, according to James Gunn, which is fantastic again, because the growth of this character throughout this series from, you know, from the Suicide Squad was fantastic. I didn't particularly like him by the end of the Suicide Squad. I didn't think he was a likeable character. I was upset that he killed Rick Flag, but the growth of his character throughout this throughout this series was spot on, and by the end of it you come to, you know, you do grow to like this character, and you see, you know, he's got remorse for what he's done to Rick Flag and this sort of thing. So fantastic, all very good. Anyway, so that was it. Those were my watches. Let me know what you've been watching in the comments down below, and I'll see you next week. Take care all, and have a good one. Goodbye all, see you later.